So we have this Behlool stories part 2 here. And Behlool with his friend. One day a friend of Behlool's took some grains to grind at the mill. After grinding them he loaded them on his donkey and started home. Near Behlool's house his donkey began limping and fell. He called Behlool and said, "Give me your donkey so I can take my bundle home." Behlool had taken an oath that he would not give his donkey to anyone, so he said,
"I don't have a donkey."
But then a donkey's bray was heard. The men said to Behlool,
"You have a donkey, but you said you didn't."
Behlool replied,
"You are a strange and stupid friend. Even though we have been friends for 50 years, you don't listen to me, but you listen to a donkey." Behlool's discussion with the faqih. It is said that a famous faqih of Khorasan came to Baghdad. When Haroun heard of this, he invited the faqih to his court. He was respectfully welcomed and was seated next to Haroun and treated very importantly by Haroun. During their conversation, Behlool arrived. Haroun told him to take a seat. The faqih took one look at Behlool and said to Haroun,
"The Khalifa's favors and likes are strange, that he likes an ordinary man and seats him close to himself."
Behlool understood that the faqih was talking about him. So, with all his might, he turned to that man and said,
"Don't be arrogant about your worthless knowledge, and don't judge my looks. I am ready to debate with you and prove to the Khalifa that you don't know nothing."
The faqih replied,
"I have heard you are insane, and I won't have anything to do with crazy people."
I
confess my insanity, but you don't acknowledge your misunderstanding."
Haroun Rashid looked at Behlool angrily and told him to be quiet, but Behlool didn't listen to him and said,
"If that person is so confident about his knowledge, then he should debate."
Haroun said to faqih, "What is the difficulty? Ask Behlool some questions." He replied,
"I am ready on one condition, which is that I will ask Behlool something. If he gives the correct answer, I will give him 1,000 dinars gold coins. If he cannot answer, he will give me 1,000 dinars.
Behlool said,
"I don't have anything of worldly wealth, not even gold dinars, but I am ready. When I answer your question, I will take the money and distribute it among paupers. If I cannot answer, then I will attend to you as a servant and slave."
The man accepted these conditions and asked Behlool,
"In a house, a wife is sitting with her lawful husband. In that house one person is praying namaz and another is fasting. Someone from outside enters the house. Because of his coming, the husband and wife become unlawful for each other. The prayers and fasts also become unlawful. Can you tell me who is that person that came?"
Behlool immediately answered,
The man that entered the house was the woman's first husband, who had gone on a journey. When a very long time had passed since he left, and news was received that he had died, according to the permission of Sharia, the woman married the man sitting next to her. She hired two people, one to fulfill her dead husband's overdue, one fulfilled prayers, and another to fulfill tardy fasts. During this time the man who had gone on the journey returned, although news of his death was widespread. Therefore other husbands became unlawful, as do the prayers and fasts.
Haroun and those present became confident and praised Behlool for solving the problem correctly. Then Behlool said,
"My turn."
Faqih said,
"Ask."
Behlool asked,
"I have 1 jar of honey and second full of vinegar. I want to prepare the refreshing drink sikanjabeen. I fill one bowl with honey and another with vinegar. To make sikanjabeen, I mix them both together. Afterwards, I see that there is a mouse in it. Can you tell me if the mouse was in the honey or the vinegar jar?"
The faqih thought for a long time, but was unsuccessful in answering. Haroun said to Behlool, "Now, you give the answer." Behlool replied,
"If this person accepts his inferior knowledge, I will answer the question."
Helpless, the faqih confessed his inferiority. Behlool replied,
"We should take the mouse out, wash it with water, and after it is cleaned of honey and vinegar, cut its stomach open. If the stomach contains vinegar, then believe that it fell in the vinegar jar. If it contains honey, accept that it fell in the honey."
The entire assembly was astonished at Behlool's intelligence and knowledge, and praised him a lot. The faqih bowed his head, and according to the deal, Behlool distributed the 100,000 dinars amongst Baghdad's poor.
Behlool and a slave who was scared of the sea. A Baghdadi merchant was sitting in a ship and his slave, with his slave, and they were going to Basra. Behlool and some others were also in this ship. The slave started crying because he was afraid of the ship's turbulent movements. Although all the travelers became annoyed at this, Behlool asked the slave's master permission to quiet him by some advice. The merchant agreed. Behlool immediately gave the order to throw the slave into the sea. His command was carried out. When the slave was near death, he was rescued. After that experience, the slave quietly sat in a corner of the ship.
The travelers asked Behlool the reason why this act quieted the slave. Behlool replied, "This slave didn't know how comfortable this ship was, or what greatness and value it held. When he was thrown into the sea, he understood that this ship is a comfortable and relieving place." Haroun asked Behlool another question. One day Behlool arrived in Haroun's court and sat a seat equal to him during the assembly. Haroun was surprised at Behlool's behavior, so he wanted to embarrass him. He said, Is
Behlool ready to give an answer to my question? If you don't go back upon your promise like you did before, I agree. If you immediately answer my problem, I will give you 1,000 dinars. If you cannot answer, I will give the order to shave your beard and mustache, and to make you ride on a donkey through Baghdad's alleys and streets with disgrace and dishonor. I have no need of dinars, but on one condition I will agree to answer your question.
What is your condition?
If I agree the answer to your problem, I want you to give the order that insects should not bother me.
Haroun bowed his head for a moment and said, "This is impossible. Insects are not my subjects."
Then what does that worried person hope for if he cannot even compete with or control insects?
The people of the court became astonished at Behlool's boldness and his intelligence. Haroun's expression changed at Behlool's answers. Behlool understood that Haroun was planning revenge. So, to please him, he said, "Now I agree to answer your question without any condition."
Which tree is it that has an age of 1 year, 12 branches, and on each branch there are 30 leaves, one direction facing light while the other facing towards darkness?
Behlool immediately replied,
This tree represents the year, the month, and day and night, because there are 12 months in a year and 30 days in a month, which are half day and half night.
"Wow, a very correct answer," Haroun said. All those present praised Behlool.
Behlool and the Amir of Kufa. Ishaq bin Muhammad bin Sabah was the commander of Kufa. His wife bore him a daughter. For this reason, the Amir was very sad and depressed. He stopped eating and drinking. When Behlool heard about this, he went to the Amir and said,
"O Amir, why this sorrow and grief?"
I hope for a son, but regretfully my wife had a daughter.
"How would you like it if Allah gave you, instead of these beautiful hands and feet, a healthy and perfect girl, a crazy boy like me?"
The Amir of Kufa laughed uncontrollably at Behlool's speech and thanked Allah, ate his meal and drank water, and permitted people to come and congratulate him.
Behlool and a Vizier. One day a Vizier said to Behlool, "The Khalifa has made you Amir and commander of dogs, chickens, and pigs." Behlool replied,
Then from now on, don't disobey my orders, because you have become my subject.
All of Vizier's companions laughed. The Vizier was very ashamed and embarrassed because of Behlool's reply.